Hello, welcome everybody. Welcome to Wool and Spinning. My name is Rachel. It is a pleasure to be here with you today. It is Tuesday, May 5th, 2026, and let me tell you, it has been a very busy couple of weeks. I felt like in April, because we missed a show, I had a funeral to go to, I felt like there wasn't a lot of connection points throughout sort of the last month and a half, and I think it's just because there's been so much going on here. And I thought, you know what, if today is quite a long show, I'm so sorry to those who are watching this later and having to sit through a long show. But there's a lot to share with you and there's a lot to catch you up on. So I wanted to share with you, just in the intro there, I included a panorama that James had taken while he was at camp a couple of weekends ago. It was the most beautiful weather, and he went out from, so there's kind of, this is Vancouver, and then up here is, actually I should do the opposite for you guys. So up here is North Vancouver and then West Vancouver, and you keep driving through, like you go sort of through Vancouver and you go through North Vancouver, through West Vancouver, and then eventually you get on the highway that will take you up to Whistler, where the 2010 Winter Olympics was hosted. And just as that highway isn't Highway 1, which is our Trans-Canada highway that goes across the whole country, isn't that anymore, and it turns into the Sea to Sky highway, which is the highway that takes you to Whistler, there's a ferry terminal there, and there's a community there called Horseshoe Bay. And you get on a little like water taxi and you go across to this place called Gambier. And James had the opportunity to go to camp there a couple weekends ago training to do camp counselor this summer. So it's a day camp. He doesn't have to do overnight or anything. And they basically, because they're between the ages of 13, 14, it's the year that they turn 14, all the way through to when they turn, I think it's 17, or when the year that they turn 18 is when they can apply to be staff. During that time, they can be what they call youth crew, and they help the staff. So he was at training. This is a picture of him just before he was going to get on the water taxi. And this is him in Horseshoe Bay. And as you can see, it's just a beautiful inlet, all, boats and huge marina there where people moor their boats, and then there's all these ferries that come in. And actually, if you look in the photo right here, right there is actually one of the BC ferries that goes back and forth between here and Vancouver Island. That one's one of the smaller ones because the really big ferries can't come into Horseshoe Bay, it's too small. So if anybody wants to go visit Glenda, that is the boat that you need to take. And then we had kind of a very eventful weekend, let me say. I don't know how else to describe it other than very eventful. Daughter mine, what a trooper, broke her arm on Friday night at soccer practice. So they were playing World Cup, and she had to take her turning goal, which I have many issues with because they don't have proper goalie gloves, but her coach was so good about it, and he was, lots and lots of attention on her immediately, and obviously, she was taken good care of. They called us right away. We got her into emergency, and she broke her radius, which is the big big bone in your arm, and she is being such a trooper, but lots and lots of pain over the weekend. She's back to school today, which is Tuesday, took yesterday off. Broke it right through her growth plate, so they're going to keep a little bit more of an eye on it just to be sure that there's no long-term damage, obviously. The Emerge docs were amazing. The Emerge nurses were incredible. And actually, I have to say, who the most of all of the people, everybody was incredible, and they did everything they could to get her in as quickly as they possibly could because she was in a lot of pain, and she had to be sedated to have everything reduced and put back into place. And she was such a trooper. But the x-ray tech she went above and beyond. So to Corinne, she doesn't know about the podcast, she doesn't know about us, she doesn't know anything about us, but sending her amazing vibes because she was amazing. And she actually grabbed Nora. We'd just gotten through triage. The triage nurse sent us down to x-ray, which I went through all of this time last year with James. He broke his arm, for those of you who remember, within 2 days of Nora breaking her arm this year. And she came right out right away, grabbed Nora, and was just so incredible. And so to Corinne, thank you so much. So that was that. And then obviously we're still in renos. We're still living at my mom's house. So I told you guys I would give you a little bit of an update every time there was an update to give. We're finally on the building out stage. So if you have a look, that's the front door, because when you come in our house, you come through the front door and you literally take a sharp right into the office. So that's the office. So we will be back in the office in about a month. They haven't started painting in the office yet, but the cabinetry and the build out in the office has started. So I wanted to show you guys a bit of an update. Everything is taped up right now because they are painting, but the casing is on all of the windows and doors, and it's starting to come together slowly. So yes. No, Deidre was wondering if it was my hospital that we took her to. No, we took her to our local community hospital. They do an awesome job, and we didn't want to take her all the way into Vancouver. So yeah, she was treated here locally, and honestly, everybody was incredible, just like they were with James, just like they've been with any other experience that we've had. So really blessed and very, very lucky to live where we live. So that's the office. That's the update on the renos and what's going on with all of that. So last but not least, you guys who've been around in woolen spinning, you guys know the drill, you know where to find everything. And so for you guys, just sit back, you get to watch the show and just enjoy today. For those of you who are new and are just kind of getting started, feeling a little bit overwhelmed, there's a start here guide right down below, and you just have to click on that link after you finish watching the show, and everything will be there to help you get started and give you some grounding in sort of what people do and how they usually get started. There's also a link down below for Ketchup and Pickles, which is our monthly housekeeping post. So if you guys didn't get that in your email, or if you're not yet a Patreon subscriber and don't get the emails, you can go ahead and click the link down below and see what all is going on this month. There is a lot. There is a lot happening. So if you are already familiar, there's nothing that you need to do, but for everybody else, the Start Here guide is there, and the monthly rundown of everything that's happening is there as well. Also, Woolen Spinning Radio has been released. So that is for everybody. It is a public show. It is released everywhere you get your audio podcast. And it is part 2 of the 2-part series with Aaron Goulet about sharing and what it's been like for him sharing and learning to share and coming to it as sort of a second career, a side hustle, something that he's really ended up enjoying. So that is available, Spotify, iTunes, all the places that you find that. And thank you to a couple of you from last month for mentioning that it wasn't coming up on your podcast feeds. It wasn't going through the distributor properly. So I went and checked and got it all sorted. So thank you for letting me know right away. Usually if you are experiencing something isn't working or there's difficulty somewhere, it's usually for a reason. And there's usually something happening. So thank you. All right, we've got a lot to talk about today. I'm just going to catch up with chat. There's lots of people, and I'm already behind. It's already gone through a whole a whole screen. Welcome everybody. I know Deej was wondering, have you videotaped? Yes, we have some great 3D photos that we're taking of every single square inch of the house before we started. Great question, Dion. And you know what really struck me? You guys probably will understand, anybody who's owned or lived in a space, everybody understands. It's amazing when you step back from a space. And there's photos and stuff that have been taken. There was even some video that was taken. And now that we've stepped back and not been in that space for almost 8 months, we're just coming up 7 months and we're entering our 8th month. I can't believe how cluttered it was. We had, because of the kids being little and the dogs and living there for 15 years before we did this, we just kind of had amassed a lot of stuff. And when I look at the photos now of the before, I'm really surprised at how cluttered it was. I didn't feel like it was cluttered, but looking back now, I can see how cluttered it was. So that's something that Mike and I've already really tried to commit to, is like, we got to keep the space cleaner. The built-ins are not in yet. No, they're just in the process of building everything out. Yeah, good question, Rebecca. So no, they're not in yet. And I'm not sure if I'm going to show you guys what it looks like until the big reveal on the podcast. I'm not sure. We'll see. Eve was wondering what we're doing to the house again. We are doing everything. If you can think of it, we are doing it. Inside, outside, everything. it was a fixer-upper and it needed a lot of TLC, and we've been living there for just coming up 15 years, and it was sort of, we were at the point where we couldn't kind of keep hobbling along. We had to actually start doing some fairly big projects, and we figured we may as well do it all at once and just get it done rather than trying to chip away at it like one thing at a time. It was easier to just move out and do everything. So we've been kind of when you feel like you're kind of hobbling along, one arm tied behind your back for a while, that's kind of how we were starting to feel. Rebecca said it was so fun chatting with Aaron. He's such an adventurer, and it was great to hear about the pathway to that job. Absolutely, I agree. I want to have him back on and chat with him like in a year or two when he's been doing it for a while, and sort of where he's at it in a couple of years versus where he is now. What I am wearing today is my my vest. What's it called? My vest number 7 by My Favorite Things. I love this thing. It has been so unseasonably warm here. We are sitting, yesterday we hit 28 degrees Celsius. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. Maybe somebody could do the quick math. It has been so hot, and I've been wearing t-shirts and jeans. Like, it's been hot. So I haven't worn a lot of sweaters the last few weeks, but I threw this on today because Mom's house is air conditioned, and it has been running. So yeah, I hear you, Eve. The state of her electrics. Yes, for us it was whether or not to do our plumbing. It's 40-year-old plumbing, and we were sort of like, do we do it, do we not? But they said, but then in the end we ended up doing it because it's like you're in the walls anyways. Everything is out anyways. So we did all the electrical and all the plumbing. Yeah. Do you ever wear the Vogue vest? Oh, that was the long one that I did years ago. No, because it is so warm. I'm gonna have to see if some of this stuff, if I start pulling it out, like once we're back in our house and I have access to my stuff again, because a lot of my stuff is in the sea can right now. It'll be interesting to see if if some of those knits that I'll have access to again, I'm gonna go through them and I'm gonna see what I want and donate the rest. And yeah. So, all right, we've got lots and lots to go through. That it's all here in the little camera, and we've got some things to chat about. So, without further ado, let's get into the show. We'll start off with some fiber prep, and then we'll get into spinning. Welcome to Dion. She just popped in. I hope she's feeling a little bit better. And Sam, it's good to see you as well. And who else is here? Oh my goodness, Deidre, Lisa, let me just see. Alberto is here. Jen, welcome. Glenda, Eve, obviously, Kath, Lily, Ellen is here. Welcome, you guys. So good to see everybody. Jen was saying that all of our stuff is packed for transport to Japan. It's a military move, and so we are in suitcases for the next few months in temporary lodging. I feel you, Jen. Oh my goodness. Yes, absolutely. It is so hard when you're just, living on the bare basics and the bare bones. Thankfully, Mike and I are really good at it. We've lived... we haven't done it for this long before, but we have lived in the trailer for 5 weeks, and it went really, really well. So we knew that if we left most of our stuff behind, that we would be fine. And my mom has most everything. We're not exactly like roughing it. But it's definitely, I'm looking forward to getting back in and going through my stuff. And there's a few things that I'm really looking forward to having back. And actually, some of the things that I'm looking forward to having back is my making stuff. Like, there's things that I'm missing, like my electric carder, some of my accessories, my combs. I've had to borrow my friend Diana Twiss's so many times. There's just my foot pedal for my e-spinner. Like, there's just random things that, like, you don't even think about in the moment. So let's start off with some fiber prep. This won't be a big segment, but I wanted to share with you something that I've been working on, and I'm actually in the process of I was gonna save it for Tour de Fleece, but I actually think I'm gonna spin it up sooner rather than later because I'm really excited to get spinning on it. So let's start off with fiber prep and I'll share with you what I've been working on. So this has been something that has been going on in the background for quite a while. I have a big bin here. This is one of the bins that I brought from the house. And I can't remember how many liters this is. It should say on the bottom, but I'm not sure that it does. It doesn't actually say. I know I measured it once because I think it was Dion. Her and I were chatting about the size of some of the bins that we have. And I did measure it and I got the dimensions of it. It's just the perfect size for working on sort of a quarter or a half fleece because it ends up packed and stuffed, but it still remains light and it's not so big that it is challenging to move around. But this is my Romney. So this is Twin Oaks Farm Romney. This is from Ontario. It's from my friend Jenny. And I've been slowly working my way through carding all of this. And I've ended up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think I've ended up with 6 or 7 bats. And I've just stored them like this. I have some photos to share with you guys in a moment. I did card them more than I originally was going to. And they're still going to come out very, very tweedy. And I had done a little bit of this prep a number of months ago when Rebecca was doing the wolf yarn on the Wool Circle. And it was so fun and so cool that I spun up a sample of it, which actually I have right here. I'll share it with you guys just to kind of refresh your memory. It was such fun yarn to make. And I remember Rebecca in the show saying how surprised she was at how much fun she had making it. That was in a Wool Circle episode back in the fall. But this was my wolf yarn. And if you're not sure what wolf yarn is, go back and watch that episode. It's sort of a core spun, you're core spinning your singles as you're spinning it all. It's just the coolest yarn. Now I'm actually a bit torn. Originally I was going to do a gimp yarn with this. So I wasn't going to spin more wolf yarn. This was just a sample that I was having a lot of fun with. I was actually going to spin some of this with a thin singles and some of this with a slightly thicker singles and then ply. And with the intention of getting some of this really fun spiral ply that's in here without the hassle of having to core spin and do the whole thing. And now I'm torn. I don't know what I want to do. So I'm going to do a little sample of the thick and thin, the thick single and the thin singles, and ply them and see. And then the other part of me was like, maybe I should just make a traditional 2-ply tweed yarn and not overthink it and just enjoy spinning these up. There's lots and lots and lots of texture in here. I have worked with this Romney fleece for quite a few different things now. It was used in a couple of different Weft magazine articles. It was used in a couple of Ply magazine articles. It's kind of been around the block, and I was ready to have all of this like carded and kind of into its final project. That was my original plan. So if you want to see, this was the original color. It's this really creamy ivory white color. And I could have just left it plain and just carded up the Romney and just enjoyed spinning that. My plan originally wasn't to make a tweed and it wasn't to do all the things with it. My original plan was actually to just leave it like this and to card it up. I had lock popped the entire fleece and opened up all of the locks and the singles. So my plan was just to spin it as was. I wasn't planning on really doing anything much more than that. But then I was going through my stash and I was trying to figure out, like, maybe there was some stuff that I wanted to use up out of my stash and start to sort of try to work my way through some add-ins, some more some interesting stuff, make it kind of fun to spin. So I added in that black is actually a really, really nappy Perendale that's old. I think it's probably 15 years old. And it's very, very, very nappy. So it adds like this really rich wool texture. Really, I could have just added that and made a kind of what I would consider a classic tweed and left it at that. But adding the sari silk, it just gives it that je ne sais quoi, like luxury kind of, you know, it adds some color. I carded it in a bit more than you maybe would for a traditional tweed. I sort of put it through a few more times, just to really blend it in and make it an actual color. And with the black in there, it was actually Dion that suggested to add the black in. It just takes that gold of the golden sari silk. It just takes it down a notch. It just kind of mutes it a bit, because you can see in this photo how gold it is. It is pretty egregious in real life. And don't get me wrong, I love that color. It's beautiful. But just to kind of mute it down a little bit, when we add black to yellow, it makes it sort of that like a grello color, or a little bit khaki green a little bit. It kind of does the opposite of what we think it's going to do. But what's really nice about that is you end up, if you card it a little bit more and then spin it into yarn, you end up with this sort of, you know, very rich kind of, there's more depth and more texture with that shade added to it, and it's a little bit more nuanced, a little bit harder to put your finger on what the color is. So I put this through the drum carder quite a number of times, carded it up quite well. Dion says, I love your wolf yarn. Yes. Rebecca makes a really good point, actually. It depends on the texture you want. Thick single spiral plied will be denser. The wolf yarn or coarse spun will be fluffier. You'll get more yardage out of the coarse spun. That's actually a really good point. If I saved this to get home and I don't start spinning it now, and I do save it for fibers wet, or for Tour de Fleece, sorry, the good thing about that is I would have access to my jumbo flyer on my Lendrum, because right now it's in the sea can. So I don't have my jumbo flyer, and spinning this wolf yarn on the jumbo flyer would be perfect. So I might actually, I'm kind of leaning towards making more wolf yarn. I just love it so much. It is so cool. I don't know what I'll do with it. I know some of you will suggest weave with it. I could do a knit swatch. I'm not sure what I'll do with it, but maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll put this away, and once we're home, I can do it during Tour de Fleece. It'd be really fun to have something really fun for during Tour de Fleece. We always have more maker mornings during Tour de Fleece too, because people are around and they're spinning. And I could put my jumbo flyer on my Lendrum and do that. So actually, you guys have talked me into it. I think that's what I'll do. But that's my fiber prep. It took me 2 almost full days of working on this. We had a maker morning one morning, and I spent about an hour and a half working on it and trying to get it finished. But I had spent most of the day before working on it, and it's part of the reason was because I was on my manual carder. I was doing it by hand, putting it through multiple times, lots of passes, breaking it up, lots of passes. So it just takes longer when it's a smaller card. My manual carder really can only make between about 30 grams of fiber. So, you know, when you're carding, like I think my total fiber weight was about 280. So, you know, it's 10 bats. That's fairly decent amount of fiber. So yeah, weave a rug, Lisa rug style. That's, you know what? You might be onto something, Rebecca. That is not a terrible idea. That is actually a very good idea. I will have to see. So that's the update. I'm going to put that away. I guess I will be doing the wolf yarn after all. You guys have talked me into it. And I'll chat about that during Tour de Fleece. We have, Tour de Fleece is always really fun in our community. We always, there's always lots and lots of spinning. So I'm looking forward to that. I think you guys look forward to it as well. It's such an intensive time of the year where we spin so much. And hopefully everybody will have some good projects to work on. Yeah, this time, Eve, I had to card it more times though, because I was blending. She says, I find I only card fleece a maximum of about twice if it's lock popped. Yeah, this time around it was just because of carding multiple things, like blending, I mean. Yeah, so yeah, good point. Yeah, ooh, pillows, ooh, that is such a great idea, Dion. The color would be perfect. Yeah, ooh. Oh, Rebecca, amazing. She says she'll be home for the first half of Tour de Fleece this year. Usually Rebecca's away. They're down south visiting family. So this year being home, she'll actually be able to spin on her wheels. I can't wait to see what she does. All right, let's move on to some spinning. I've actually been doing quite a bit of spinning, so I'm excited to share it all with you. Okay, so finished the second skein of my Bramble Ridge Scruff Cormo singles. That is a mouthful. So the second skein is done. I have no idea which one is which. I think this one's the new one. They look so similar that it's actually hard to tell. Anyways, I mean, I guess that's a good thing. I'm going for consistency here. So I have the third braid still to go. So I need to break this up into, I'll strip it 3 times so that I have 4 bundles to spin. And then I'll just very quickly pre-draft each length and then spin them end to end, each of them one after the other. So what ends up happening is the colorway that Megan put on the original fiber sort of repeats 4 times down the length of these. And what's been really fun about this, so that was the original fiber, and there was the 3 braids, and then my original plan was to always spin singles with this, so that was always the plan. And then the singles are here. So these are the 2. I'm having problems with one of my cameras. Not my vlogging cameras, but my my actual like DSLR. I don't have a mirrorless camera. I have the Canon EOS 6D, but it's like 15 years old now, and it is doing all sorts of weird and wonderful things, which is not great. So I'm heartbroken. And there's no more updates available for them anymore. So I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I did manage to get some photos of this yarn. My plan is still to weave with this. So it'll be woven warp, so warp singles, warp weft singles. I think that I was gonna do this before the show, but then my mom was having some technical difficulties with her laptop, so I needed to kind of pause and help her. But I think on average, the wraps per inch singles is anywhere between 22 and 18. Yeah, 24. So I'm going to weave the fabric. It'll probably be a some sort of a twill or a twill derivative, something like that. A canvas weave over 2 under 2. Not canvas. What's it called? Help me out, you guys. Over 2 under 2. Basket weave. I don't know. I was thinking of canvas weave for something else, for my other Bramble Ridge weaving project that I've been thinking about, the green and pink one. I've been thinking about a canvas weave for that one. So then, of course, I had that in my mind. Anyways, some sort of a twill adjacent, something like that. Big piece of fabric, something that's more square rather than rectangular. I have to figure out the pattern pieces, but I'm really hoping what my plan is for this is the plan, best laid plans and all that. So, bear that in mind. But what I'm thinking is something like a basket weave or even a plain weave, because my idea is that I will weave a piece of fabric to do some sort of open drapey kind of a sweatshirt-y type thing. Something like a woven shirt, kind of like the LB pullover that I'm still working on with my other hand woven. I just haven't had a chance while we've been here. Trying to get up to my sewing machine and get into the sewing room is like impossible while we've been here. I haven't done anything. I haven't finished my bitmap towels. I haven't started having my floral napkins. I'll talk about those later in the show. It's so difficult to get up there and into the sewing room. It's virtually impossible. I think at home, I don't have a sewing room at home, so when I want to do something sewing, I have to actually pull out my stuff and take over the dining room table. And in some ways, that forces me to work on something and actually see it through and finish it, because then I put everything away until the next time when I need to pull it out again. And being here, my mom has a sewing room and everything is set up in there, and carving out the time to get up there and get in there and actually dive into something is proving to be very difficult. It's also been an unusually busy winter, as you guys could see from this past weekend alone. Not really a whole heck of a lot of fun. So yeah, I need to get things going on a few things, but I'm not going to size the singles. Eve, that's a great question. I think I've been chatting with my friend Vivian of What Viv Does on Instagram. She's in Halifax. She steams her singles really super well before she works with them. And then if she has any breakage on the loom, she actually uses a stick of glue and sort of almost like glues them back together. It's quite brilliant. There's a couple of things that I would like to try. The other thing is, like, you know, keeping the tension a little bit lighter, keeping everything a little bit gentler. I could spray some starch on and, you know, lift up, you know, if you thread a twill or a plain weave, I can lift up half the threads, spray them with starch, let that dry, and then vice versa. And I know that's a trick that I got from Lisa, who's here in the chat today, and I thought maybe I would try that. I want to try a few different things and sort of see if I can get a bit more comfortable with the idea of trying some of these things, like the starching, trying like the little bit of glue that Vivian uses when she has a broken warp thread. Weaving with singles is not, it's not terrible. I did it for my entire Unit 1 OHS stuff, and I had many broken threads on that, and there was lots of different ways to fix them and be successful. So I'm not concerned about the singles part of it. It's more the size of the fabric, how I want to do it on the loom, whether it's gonna be a bit more narrow so I do individual pattern pieces, or do it so I can cut things out on the fold. I'm just not totally sure yet about all of that. So yeah. Lisa, what is this putting away thing that Rachel refers to? I hear you, Lisa. I hear you. My house is very, very small. We have nowhere to sit if I don't put my sewing stuff away, because for the last 10 years, we've only had one table. And in some ways, it's been a blessing, and in some ways, it's been a curse. So, Dion says, would you starch as you roll on your warp? Maybe. I don't know. I'll see. I'm going to do some sampling. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I really like the idea of doing the starch, spraying the starch on, and Lisa and I talked about that. These have quite a bit of twist in them. They should be totally fine, warping and weaving and whatnot. I think it's more, for me, it's the wear and tear on the singles as you're weaving. It's not so much the warping or the warp threads. It's the wear and tear of the reed running over the singles and needing to protect them a little bit. So that's why I really liked the idea of the starch and just spraying it. But I can't really do that here at my mom's. I think my mom might actually like lose her ever-loving mind if I did that. So I'll have to wait until I'm back at home. But in the meantime, I've got a couple other weaving projects that I'll put on the loom. A couple of things for Weft magazine, and then a couple of things that I want to get done. So this will, the spinning will finish, but then the yarn will get put away until we're back into our house. So yeah. Andy put a grocery bag on a chair, and instead of putting it away, I sat on them. Yes, yes, I hear you. That is a problem in our house as well. And the kids don't pay any attention, so they just like sit down, and it's like, well, there goes the apples. Yes. Yeah, so Lisa was saying they'll relax a lot with steaming. I've noticed, so what Vivian does is she actually keeps them on her skein winder, and she steams them into place on the skein winder. I just want to try all these little things. Like, you know, I talked last show in episode 335 how I finished these this time around, because I did it differently from how I've done it in the past. So you can go back and watch that. I want to see how that changes how this weaves up, and then try the steaming on the skein winder and see how that changes things, and then trying the starch spray and how that changes things, and then trying the sizing and how that changes things. Like, I want to try all these different things to sort of be able to sit here and compare why I would choose one thing over another in the future for different projects. So yeah, and actually Lisa, she has a video on Instagram, it's on her reels, of how she does it, and she does it on her skein winder. Because yeah, that was my concern, was like, as soon as you pull it off your skein winder and you start to steam things, you're gonna lose all that twist. But she holds it on the skein winder. So yeah, there's a reel on her Instagram at What Viv Does. All right, the other thing that I've been working on a ton is my cotton. So I'm still completely in love with spinning. This is my little singles. I haven't moved this since I pulled it off. This is my little singles of cotton, my first like real yardage, if you will, off my charkha. I was joking in the Slack channel that we were going to change the name of the show to it's no longer going to be called Wool and Spinning. We're going to change it to Cotton and Spinning because there's no longer going to be any wool spinning here. It's like Rebecca on the Wool Circle. She was joking a little while ago about how it's not going to be the Wool Circle anymore. It's only going to be the Gnome Circle, and we're only going to spin gnomes, or we're only going to knit gnomes. And of course, you know, it's fun to joke, but apparently in Germany, in German, Renata was saying that wool, W-O-L-L-E, and I'm not sure I'm saying it correctly, but hopefully Amanda can help me. Wool, or is it wool? Anyways, in German, it means cotton and wool, so it can refer to either. So Renata joked that we should change the name of the show to Wool and Cotton, so W-O-L-L-E, German for wool and cotton. Because it can refer to either. So I quite liked that. We'll be truly international. I just have to learn how to say it properly. I think it's wool, something like that. Anyways, so I've been making really good progress on my charkha. I've been doing a daily practice of at least 15 minutes, but usually I end up sitting there for a bit longer. I figured out why it wouldn't close. You guys are so sweet. There were a couple of people that chimed in the comments on YouTube, and a couple of people who chimed in on the Slack channel, and you guys were so lovely. And I learned a couple of things, but, and so thank you. But basically what happened, let me just go back to the main screen for just a sec. So you see how there's these have to match up. So I had actually just figured that out. And when somebody, I can't remember if it was Christina, or I think it was Christina, mentioned it and said, you know, make sure that the bolts are matched up, which I was like, oh yeah, of course, which I'd been kind of doing by accident, and I just figured out that you needed to do that. But that wasn't the problem. That wasn't actually what was hindering it from closing. What was hindering it from closing was the mouse trap. So what was happening, there's this little thing down here that holds the mouse trap in place. And when it's upright, and when it's all set up for spinning, the mouse trap kind of shifts downward and sits like this. So you see how the mouse trap, like this part here, sits quite low. So it's down here now, right? See how it shifts, and you can move it. And then when you put the I call it a door stop, but when the door stop is in and stuck, then you can't move the mouse trap, right? But when this is low, it hits this. It hits your accelerator. So as long as the mouse trap gets moved back up again, then, now it's not gonna work. Now everything's gonna completely go to somewhere in a handbasket. Then it closes properly. It worked. So it wasn't just the knob not being lined up. It wasn't just this. It was also the mouse trap, and figuring out where that goes and where that is, where it needs to line up properly. Sorry for the clinking. I'm sure that didn't sound very nice in your ears. So the other thing, so what I've been spinning, let me tell you guys a little bit about what I've been spinning. So what I've been working my way through is this 50 grams of this avocado it's from eons ago from Vegan Yarns. This is probably 10, 12 years old. And this fiber, when it gets washed and you change the pH, it goes this absolutely beautiful kind of oatmeal-y green color. And this is 50, it's only 50 grams, but like in cotton, that's a huge amount. And it's this gorgeous kind of oatmeal-y color. And if I use washing soda to change the pH, that will change, it will change the color of the final yarn. So you guys know as well as I do, spins like this, where the yardage and the singles themselves are so thin, it takes a long time. And I guess this was a theme that kept coming up for me again and again and again this past week, because it's kind of like spinning cashmere or spinning Kiviot on its own, which Rebecca can attest to. You've got these really, really super fine fibers, and they want to be spun fine. And this isn't a blend. The singles are sitting sort of around 45 to 48 wraps per inch. So, you know, when we were just talking about my scruff, my singles that I was spinning, like the difference between these two, I don't know if we can go back to the bigger camera. Here we go. Like, look at the difference in the thickness, right? Let's see if I can flip that over. Like, that is a huge difference in thickness. One is 22 to 24 wraps per inch, this one, and this one is double, literally 45 to 48 wraps per inch. So it takes a long time. Oh, crap. I don't know if you guys could hear me there. I forgot to turn on the other camera, but I think you could still hear me because the audio is here. But you get the gist. Like, you know, just a huge amount of time to spin these very fine singles. And what I've been finding has been really helpful. In the charkha, there's this area that Jonathan Bosworth includes that's this little lazy Kate, and you wind off, we talked about this last show, you wind off your singles using that lazy Kate. But what I've been really finding helpful is these spindles, they're not very big. So even though you're spinning really, really super fine and you've got these, just it feels like it takes a long time to amass a lot of yardage. Because the spindle is so small, it piles up quite quickly. So I'm already ready to wind this off, because if it gets any bigger and it gets any more bulbous, the spindle won't turn freely in the lazy Kate. So I learned that the hard way last time round. So now I've kind of realized that as long as the singles are sort of about the same as the actual spindle whirl, and it's all kind of in line, this will turn freely in the lazy Kate and allow me to wind off. But because they're small, you know, they're not really super big, at least it makes you feel like you're making progress. This is the one that I was working on yesterday, and I started this one yesterday empty. And after a couple of hours of spinning, because Nora was sitting outside she was, bless her heart, with her one hand, she was trying to bead. She's got a lot of stick to itness. What's that stick to itness? I'll give her that. But this was just me sitting yesterday, just in that couple of hours, and it doesn't feel like a lot of spinning, but it's so fine that when I wind it off, it's probably between, you know, 50 and 80, maybe 100 yards, probably between 50 and 80. But so it adds up, but it takes time. And it is slow, and I was finding myself feeling a little bit sorry for myself and sort of hurting my own feelings, if you will, sort of feeling like I should have more done and that I should be making faster progress, and why aren't the spindles filling up more quickly. And then I sort of had to step back and give myself a little bit of a pep talk and look at the fineness of the singles and the fineness of the fiber, because this cotton fiber is very, very fine, and sort of say to myself, like, look at what you've done, like, look at what you've accomplished. That's a lot of spinning. It just doesn't feel like a lot of spinning. You're not taking spinning bobbins off of your spinning wheel one consecutively after the other. These take a lot longer to fill, and it's just so fine. So I had to kind of give myself a little bit of a talking to about progress, what progress means, how quickly we can progress through things, and stop hurting my feelings because you know, recognizing how fine some of these are, and really how long they take to amass any kind of yardage. Somebody had asked me, I think it was in the Slack channel, how many singles I was going to do, like if I was going to ply it or if I was going to leave it as singles. I am going to ply it. My plan is to ply it. So this little skein will eventually be wound onto bobbins. I don't have a manual bobbin winder with me. I accidentally put it in the sea can. There was a couple of things that I had set aside, like my Lendrum jumbo bobbin and flyer, my manual bobbin winder, and a couple of extra weaving bobbins, the bigger ones, the ones that go on the spool rack, not the ones that go in a shuttle. There was a few things like that I had put in this basket, and somehow the basket ended up in the sea can. So I realized too late that the movers had grabbed it. So this will eventually get wound into singles and it will eventually be plied. But I figure I may as well just keep making skeins and I'll keep spinning through this. And by then, hopefully we'll be back in our house. It's kind of a long-term project. And then eventually I'll be able to ply it. I might even do a 3-ply just to kind of amass a little bit of thickness, because I'm not sure what I will do with like cobweb lace cotton singles, to be obviously. So Christine, I love that. Nora obviously has I'm not going to say it properly. Perseverance. It's a combination of perseverance and resilience. I love that. Yes, she does. Yeah, Dion said it took me forever to fill a 4-ounce bobbin of cotton using my e-spinner. Yes, and the thing is, when you get finished, I don't know if you felt like this, Dion. When I wound this off, even though it was tiny, I felt like I had accomplished so much. I was like, this is gold. This is spinning gold. And I think sometimes we don't give ourselves enough credit for the things that we accomplish. It feels like we have to do these like really big projects. We need to do a sweater. We have to do an entire sweater spin. It has to be big, big, big. And when I was looking at this after it came off, I was like, no, like this, it doesn't look like much and it's just little. It's the cutest little thing you've ever seen of cotton. And it's so smooth and just so lovely. It's, I've been trying not to manhandle it too much, but this is gold. Like this is so... But it took so long. It took so long. So, and I am getting faster. I will say the charkha, I am getting faster, and I'm figuring out, like, as I turn that initial turn and you're drafting out, there's kind of a balance between turning the drive wheel of the charkha enough to get just enough twist into the cotton that you can draw it out. But then not drawing out any more fibers from the fiber supply, but drawing out on the cotton singles itself and evening it out and smoothing it out. There's a certain amount of twist that needs to happen with that as well. Obviously way more in that stage than the initial draft. So part of it is sort of finding that balance between enough twist to draw out and then adding enough twist to make sure that it's, because cotton just eats up the twist. So as you're drawing out, you have to add quite a bit of twist. So I've been finding that before I actually wind on to the spindle, that if I turn the drive wheel another 2 or even 3 times, just to make sure that it's nice and prickly. That surface area of the singles itself is prickly, to make sure that there's enough twist. And it's funny because if I move my hand from the fiber supply, if I move it back ever so slightly to start drafting the next section of fiber, if the singles don't have enough twist, because the cotton just eats it up, the twist will just run up into the fiber supply to start to make the next batch of yarn, and you've got to add more twist. It's really incredible. Cotton just, oh, it just eats it up. Really, really interesting. I have an electric bobbin winder with me, so I don't need to use a drill with a bobbin winder. You can use a drill as a bobbin winder. You totally can. I also have a quill for my Ashford e-spinner that I could put bobbins on, and I could use that. I want the manual because there's less pull on the manual, and I don't want to break these. So I want my manual bobbin winder for a reason, because I do have my electric with me. That's how I've been doing all the weaving. I want my manual for this particular bobbin winding, because I don't want that tug of the electric. So there's a reason for that. Yeah. Okay, let me see if I can do this, because now that I've said that I figured it out, I keep expecting it not to work. The other thing that keeps shifting is the little arms for the skein winder. And then the accelerator gets stuck on them and it won't close either. So there is that for anybody having difficulties. So I've been carrying this around with me. This has been my little package. I've been walking around the house with this. Feeling very chuffed. Very proud of myself. So that's my major spinning. That's what I've been really working on. And as I said, it's just taking a lot of time because it's slow and the yarn is fine. And there's not really a whole heck of a lot I can do about it. It just takes time, and I'm really enjoying it. So now I don't want to rush it. I do want to get started, or not started, I want to continue to work on my brown cotton man, the upland cotton that I've been working on for so long. I do want to get going with that because I still have the plan to weave quite a big piece of fabric with that. Again, my thought was to ply it, continue to ply it because I've already spun a whole bunch of it, continue to ply it into the 2-ply and then eventually make some sort of a cotton something or other. So yeah. Rebecca, you're hilarious. Alberto says the charkha is a humbling device as a spinner. I love it though. I love it. Rebecca says, yes, I think Rachel is looking for something to take up for the rest of her 40s. I think this cotton is going to take forever. I think it's going to literally take forever. All right. Thank you for I know that we have always spent a lot of time on this podcast talking about wool and talking about wool blends and spinning wool, and of course a lot of the comb tops and stuff that are available on the market are all wool and wool blends. But I've been really enjoying this deep dive into other fibers and into really getting comfortable with the cotton. At first I felt like I was trying to stab a round peg into a square hole and it wasn't feeling particularly good, and I was really kind of feeling like, what did I sign on here for, and like, why am I doing this to myself? And I think I've gotten to a point now where I have the right tools, and I have my very fast flyer for my Lendrum that goes at 64:1, so like it works like a hot damn, excuse my language. The charkha has been a game changer. The Tockley is so portable. And I think as you amass these tools that actually work and are actually for cotton, it's still very humbling, but it makes it really enjoyable. So I would highly recommend some investing in those things, because yes, it makes you feel like a beginner again. You're absolutely right, Dion. But oh my goodness, the growth and the je ne sais quoi, the growth, but also the when you feel really good about something. What's that word? And also, I've kind of realized that I'm allowed to leave the cotton unfinished. I'm allowed to let it sit. I'm allowed to let it be and not force it into submission, force it to be finished. That if I can only work on it for 15 minutes a day for a couple of days, and sometimes I don't even get to it, that yes, it's going to take a while. It's going to take a lot longer than spinning the Cormo singles. The Cormo singles I can do in a couple of nights. I can get through 2 lengths of fiber relatively quickly, and I have that sense of personal satisfaction of finishing something. The cotton's just not like that, and it takes a lot of time, and it just does, and I have to be okay with that. Yes, satisfaction. Thanks, Christine. That's the word I was looking for. It's also very meditative. That's so true, Jen. It really makes you pay attention to the fiber in your body. It does, and it really makes you pay attention in a way that wool doesn't. We do a lot of fiber prep with our hands when we're spinning wool. We don't think of it as fiber prep because we're actually in the moment and we're spinning. But we smooth it, we move it, we kind of, shift our hands around to maintain the drafting triangle. We might realign it. There's lots and lots of things that we're doing with wool as we're spinning that Stephanie Gustad used to call fiber prep. With cotton, you cannot do that. And so I think because there's a precision in spinning cotton that happens in the way that we're adding twist and how we're drafting it out, that initial draft, and then as you add more twist, continuing to draft it out to smooth it out, it's very, very different from spinning wool. And in some ways it's a bit faster, and in some ways it's a bit slower. In a lot of ways it's a bit slower because you're spinning so much finer. But in some ways it's faster because you kind of add that twist, draw out that initial from the fiber supply, but then you're not drawing from the fiber supply anymore. You're literally drafting out the actual singles themselves as you add more twist, and then you wind on. Like in some ways it's a bit faster because your hands aren't doing all of that prep, that feeling and that moving things around that we do when we're spinning wool. So it's really, really, really different. It's a very different dance. And that's really important, Jen, to recognize that you pointed that out. She said with cotton, it's about relaxing and letting go. That is so true. Yes, absolutely. I remember the movie Gandhi, spinning cotton requires patience. It can't be rushed. I think the can't be rushed is the big one. You can't rush it, and you have to put enough twist in it. With wool, we can kind of get away with it. You can't get away with it with cotton, because as soon as you skein it, or you start to ply it, or you start to do whatever it is with it, that all disintegrates and falls apart. And so it does take a lot of patience, but it's very satisfying. Very satisfying. Yeah. 100%. All right, let's talk about knitting. All right, so I actually did start a new knitting project, because after I was finished these two sweaters, this one and the one in the background, I was kind of at a loss for a little while as to what I was going to knit and what I was going to work on, because on Tuesday nights, James goes to tutoring and I go to the gym and I sit on the upright bike for about an hour and just do my zone tutoring. And it's kind of time that I just have to put in to build my engine for my running and my lifting, and it's boring. You have to keep yourself in zone 2. I really have to watch my heart rate, that it doesn't get up too high. And one of the best ways that I found, and on the bike my heart rate doesn't go very high. I get sweaty and I get hot, but my heart rate stays quite low. And one of the best ways that I have found to maintain that for the hour is actually to knit, funnily enough. And there's these ladies at the gym who have started watching me, because they see what I'm working on and they're like, oh, what are you working on now? They're very, very cute. And I had brought with me from our house when we moved in, I had brought all of my yarn that I had spun and plied last year. This was from Cold Valley Farms. It was the Jacob that Dion shared with me. I bought a bunch of the fleece from her. I don't have photos of it. Anyways, I had three or four skeins. Where are they? Oh, they're on the floor over there. I'm not even going to try to get them. Anyways, I'll show them to you next show. I skeined up the first couple. I swatched, and my gauge was quite fine. I think I briefly mentioned this last show maybe. The gauge was really super fine, and I sort of found myself thinking like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do with this? Maybe I should make it into a 4-ply, but then I won't have enough yardage, blah, 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 blah. This was the swatch. I remember showing this to you guys. Half of the swatch, this part here, is knit on 3mm needles, which is a US 2.5, and then the other part is on a US size 3, which is a 3.25mm needle. And I was really taken with the slightly denser fabric, because I knew that when I washed and blocked a sweater and started to wear it, it would start to relax over time, and I would appreciate that slightly, ever so slightly, can't put your finger on it, firmer fabric. So I have started this before, but I never finished it, and I ripped it out because there was a mismatch between the gauge and the yarn that I chose and the sweater itself. And I think the fine gauge with a shirt like this works really super well. Even though the fine gauge takes a lot longer to knit, at 26 stitches to 4 inches, you're doing a lot of knitting, but your trade-off is a finer gauge, a finer fabric, something that's going to drape really nicely. You've got enough structure in the neckband that it holds the sweater properly, but then it suits being a short sleeve. It suits, you know, just kind of the aesthetic. So this is the Moon Set Tee by Haley Schmedley, or Ozetta as she's known. And I got gauge. The 3mm gauge on this was perfect. It was a perfect match. So I started knitting. So I will show you the initial photos, and I've been working on this on the bike. This is only progress on the bike and in emergency on Friday night. So you can see here, basically the way that the sweater is constructed is you start at the back and you do short rows down the back. I should have a photo of that. Yeah. And you work your way across the back doing short rows back and forth to build the shoulders at the back. And then you go back and you do the neckband, and you do a provisional cast on, and you build it out each way, and then you pick up and knit your shoulders and then work your way down. So as you can see, and that's your pickup along the edge there. You can see the seam where you're picking up your stitches. And then you start to increase for your V-neck so that you get that lovely V-neck shape. And all of those row markers there are for me to keep track of which increase I'm on so that I didn't lose track and miss an increase. So that the two sides would match, so that when you put the two bands over top of one another and you decrease them all together, so that they come together seamlessly, you've got everything matching up and everything aligns. So I have been able to work on this just while I've been sitting on the bike on Tuesday nights. This is only Tuesday night progress. And I've been really happy with how it's been coming together. And on Friday night, I had just started knitting on the body, and I'm a couple of inches into the body now, just going around and around and around and around in circles. So super boring, but it's a great mindless thing to work on the bike and to keep myself in check that I'm not working particularly hard. And then I tried this on when I separated for the sleeves, and it fits really nicely. I'm knitting one size bigger than what I would normally knit because I wanted the ease, and so this should be a little bit looser once it's washed and blocked and finished and blah blah blah. So I'm not alternating skeins, and so far it hasn't been an issue. I'm on to the second skein right now, and you absolutely cannot tell that they're any different. And it's not, I think, because my blending on the carders was that good. I think it's that there's enough nuance in the yarn, and you get the occasional like stripe where there's a little bit more of the black, because I blended all three of the colors of the Jacob fleece together, and you can't tell. And I love that every so often you get these like little chunks of the brown, like all of it, little bits every so often. Right there, there's one right there. I love that. Yeah, it's got lovely texture in real life without being obnoxious and without being variegated. So yeah, really happy with this as my needle falls out. Hang on one sec. Yikes. There were people in Emerge. We got there at 7 p.m. and we got to the waiting room by about 7:15, 7:30. And there were people that had been waiting since 2 p.m. because it was just smoking busy that day. And I felt a little bit badly because Nora bypassed all of them because she was so acute. It's all part of like the triage scale and how people are seen by acuity versus what time you got there. But they were so jovial and they were so nice to her, and I was seeing her knitting and they're like, oh, what a great use of time, it's just awesome. Like everybody was just really friendly. I think they all knew everybody was kind of in it together, you know, being really nice to one another. Yeah, I do love the texture. Yeah, thank you, Rebecca. Yeah, very pretty. Thank you, Lisa. It is a good beginner tee pattern because you're kind of learning how to do that shaping at the back neck, and you're building your button band at the back of your neck and building that outward. So you're doing original cast on, or Judy's Magic cast on, sorry, and then you're picking up stitches off of that cast on and building it out. Yeah, I guess it is a provisional cast on. And then you're building it out and then you're decreasing. Like, it's not difficult, and the instructions are really excellent. I've knit it before, so I was really comfortable just jumping in and starting it right away. As soon as I saw that I had gauge, I was like, oh, perfect, done. So really happy with it. I will say the finer gauge is taking a long time. Even just sitting in Emerge for those 4 or 5 hours and like, you know, knitting away when I could, getting just that 2 inches made a big difference. Like, you know, as I was pulling it out the other day to look at it quickly in prep for our live stream, I sort of thought, you know, like, it's okay. Like, you know, there's still a couple of inches that I got done. It's probably just over 2 inches. You know, it's just making that slow and steady progress. It's part of what happens when you work with a fine gauge, and it does, it takes time. All right, I've got some finished weaving finally to share with you guys, so let's do that next. All All right. I am so pleased to share these with you, and I have to say a huge thank you to Lisa for helping me with these. They would not be done and they would not be a reality if it wasn't for Lisa. So thank you, thank you, thank you. These are my floral bouquet napkins. So they came out bigger than the pattern, but I knew that that was going to be the case because my set was different. And I think I was getting to the end of this warp and I just felt like it was never going to end. It was 26 ends per inch, 26 picks per inch, and it was overshot. So for every pick, you're throwing 2 shuttles, one for the pattern and one for the tabby that is underneath. And it was just very, very, very fine. And toward the end, I was really like, is this going to end anytime soon? Because if it's not, I'm going to cut these things off. I was so done. But I got like a lot of napkins. There's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 napkins. I was hoping for, I have to admit, I was hoping for 6. Oh, what just happened? I was hoping for 6. So that was a bit of I was hoping for 8. So that was a bit of a bummer. I did lose a little bit of my warp at the beginning and a little bit of my warp in the middle because of a mistake that I made, and I had to restart one of them, and I decided not to unweave. I decided to just cut my losses and keep on going. So I didn't have quite enough for an 8th one at the end. But it's a lot of throwing of the shuttle. So, and this isn't even that fine. Like we've got friends in our community who weave at like 64 ends per inch. So like seriously, but this is what they look like. So it's meant to be floral. It's meant to be like very, very dainty, very lightweight. This is 16-2 cotton, warp and weft and overshot. So I used all the same yarn. So there's no difference in the gauge of the weft yarn, because they're supposed to be really dainty and they're supposed to look very, very fine. So basically this is meant to be like the leaves and the stem, and these are the flowers. So it's meant to be like a floral arrangement. So this one was pink and blue with the green. The green goes through all of them. So the green is all of them. And then this one was, I used the colors in the pattern because I wasn't familiar with the pattern. It was something that the late, what was her name who designed these? Oh my goodness. I have her name written down. Margot. Let me double check because I don't want to get it wrong. They were in hand woven in summer of 2025 if you're looking, and you can look on the handwoven website and you can actually download this same pattern but as tea towels. So there's 2 patterns that she's put together. One is for tea towels and one is for napkins by Melinda Allen. The napkins were in the magazine, and then the tea towels you can find on the handwoven website. And if you have a Thread Media membership, whatever, it's all free. So I just substituted the colors that she used in the pattern in 16-2 cotton because the cost would have been just prohibitive if I'd used the yarn that was called for. So the next set was orange and blue. I love these ones. Nora's already called one of them as being hers. This one was the wine color with the pink again. And then this one was the one that I made the mistake. So this one was orange and wine. But I had started this one, I did a false start. I made a big mistake in here. So I restarted them so that I lost yardage there. And then this one's one of my favorites. It's the orange and pink. It's so subtle and so feminine. Just has such springtime energy, a little bit Easter-ish. This one is pink and blue. Again, this is my favorite. And then the last one was, I hadn't done wine with the blue. So I ended up with a few more with the blue than I had originally planned. But I was really, really, really happy with how these turned out. And they are not washed. And I think they will be hand hemmed. I think I'm going to have to hem them by hand. Mostly just because it's so fine. Which is fine. I'll work on that in the summer. I'll sit outside and I'll try and hem one a day, and they'll get done when they get done for our new dining room. I don't think the colors match at all. It doesn't matter. I'm going to use them anyways. I just want to put these back together. So I'll get them washed. Once we're back in our house and I have access to my washing machine, I will wash them, and then I'll hem them. So yeah, really happy with how these came out. Very, very happy. Overshot is time and yarn consuming. Yes. Oh my goodness, the yarn. Oh, these took so much yarn. And you know, it's funny because you don't really think about it in the moment. Like, you're sort of like, oh, another bobbin. I'll just weave off another, you know, it's like, oh, I have to wind another bobbin. Oh, I have to wind another bobbin. And then after a while you're like, holy Hannah, like this is a lot of yarn. I love overshot though. Like, I really love the effect of it. I love crackle as well. I really love the effect that they give you, and the possibilities. There's just something about it that I really love. I know Amanda Ratage, she's based in Toronto. She calls all of this kind of work where you've got a supplemental weft over top of a tabby ground. So a tabby is 1 2 1 2 is 1 3 1 3 over, you know, your sort of plain weave. Is your tabby ground. So you call it tabby when you have a supplemental weft over top. And I know she calls all of these supplemental wefts float work, and I kind of like, and it kind of encapsulates sort of all these different weave structures. And she sort of, you know, and I know she does a lot of that. And I just, the effects that you can get, the like the look, how it all comes together. You know, you could weave these, you could take this same pattern. Now that I'm so familiar, I had it memorized by halfway. It's so straightforward. And so once you have it memorized, I was thinking like you could change the draft to a crackle threading. And then you could weave it crackle, and then you could change it to summer winter, and you could weave it summer and winter. Like, there's just so many, it's all adjacent to one another, and there's just so many possibilities. And you can just take that one draft and change one thing about it, and then you've got a whole new project. And then you change that another thing, and you've got a whole new project. And pretty soon down the line, you've, you know, done that 5 or 6 times. You've got this whole brand new thing that doesn't even look like the first thing. I mean, it's just incredible. So, oh, Ellen, I would love to come to that. She said an overshot gamp is the class we are planning next. Yes, that would be incredible. One of my next projects actually to go on the loom is a overshot project for Weft magazine, for the overshot issue. Really looking forward to that. Let me just catch up with the chat. Dion says they are beautiful. Thank you, Dion. Let's see. I pity the person who spills tomato ketchup or red wine on them. Yes, Christine. I'm not sure that these are going to be used. I don't know. I know, right? Nora is the spilliest person. She spilled glue yesterday, white glue, all over the table. Her middle name is Spills. Like, she spills everything. It's a thing in our house to tease Nora about spilling. And she was looking at the towels and she's like, this is my favorite. I want this one. This one's gonna be mine. And I, like, inside I just like cringed. I was just like, ugh, to have to give her one because she spilled everything. They might be one of those things where they're on the table when you set the table. You know, if you do a really fancy, like, you know, dining room, like, bring out all the stops, you know, plate everything, and then once everybody's eating, you take them away and give them paper napkins. These are just for the photo shoot, you guys. You can't actually use them. Haha. Yeah, they are totally decor. I know, right? You know what though? I would actually be upset in 10 or 15 years. I would be mad at myself if I didn't let them be used, because I went to all the effort of making them. I think I would be bummed that I didn't use them. I'll report back. I'll let you know in 10 years how I feel. Yeah, woven napkins for Instagram, paper ones for the actual meal. 100%, Christine. Yes, 100%. So I did get something else on the loom right away. And the reason that I put something else on right away was because if I didn't, I felt like I would end up leaving the loom empty for quite a while. And James was homesick all of last week. And he finally went back to school today. So I just thought if I get something else on the loom right away, it wasn't gonna be a big warp. It wasn't a ton of ends. It was only like 220 ends. I could wind it off really quickly. I could get it on the loom and at least have something going in the background, even if I can't sit there and work on it a ton. So let me just get back to the beginning. So I started off with, this completely came from you guys. I was so inspired. I had shown you guys a whole bunch of one-off skeins of stuff that I was gonna save for some overshot scarves that I wanted to make later in the year. But then when I showed them to you guys on the podcast, a bunch of you were like, oh, you should combine those two in particular. And the one colorway is the Price of Eggs, and it is on BFL Massam from Bramble Ridge. And the other one is Hanui, and it's Mushroom Hunt, but they're basically the same colors, just a different saturation. So the Hanui Mushroom Hunt was a deeper color and more and brighter than the Price of Eggs, which is the same colors, just tinted, muted down. Very lots and lots and lots of white in them, in terms of like it wasn't deeply saturated. So what I did was I went on Fiberworks and I started playing around with 8 shaft twills and 4 shaft twills. And I ended up settling on this one, on the one that's on the very bottom in the corner. I know it's hard to see, but this is just kind of how my planning process usually starts. And I ended up doing a 4 shaft advancing twill. So that's where your twill, if you think of the twill circle, it's where you go forward and then back a little bit and then forward a little bit more and then back a little bit and then forward a little bit more, but you never quite get back to where you started. So you're not going 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1. You're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, and then back up again. So think of it as sort of a circle where you're going forward and then you're coming back a little bit and then you're going forward even further and then back a little bit and so on. And this is kind of how I start my design process, is I start to play around with threadings and treadlings, and I look in books and I look at different sources and I keep just going through like, you know, what about this? What about that? What if I did this? What if I did that? And I come up with all these different sort of plans, if you will, of all different ideas. And then eventually I settle on something because it's what I like the best. So what I ended up settling on, like I said, was the one back here that's in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. So I wound, I think it ended up being 220-ish ends. This was the 8 shaft one that I was playing with originally. I ended up not doing this one because I felt like it would actually be too busy. But I would like to try this one with something else. I love this so much. So these were the 2 yarns. So this one here is the Mushroom Hunt, and that one there is Price of Eggs. So, excuse me, so Price of Eggs is on BFL Massam, 75% BFL, 25% Massam. And then Mushroom Hunt is a Hanui, so a little bit softer, better yardage. So it ended up being my warp. And the BFL Massam ended up, everything just aligned, you guys. Like sometimes things just work out, and everything aligned where if I used all of the Mushroom Hunt for the warp, there was exactly the right amount of the other for the weft. It just completely worked out. So this is it being woven. It looks really high contrast in the photos, but in real life, it's actually not that high contrast. When you look at it, it's not quite as, the weft isn't quite as loud as it is in the photos. Here, it's a little bit closer to what it is on the loom, but it's more subtle. I think it's just the angle of the photo and the brightness and all that kind of stuff. Oh, thank you, Rebecca. She says that's really pretty. Dion loves it. Thank you so much, you guys. Thank you. So what's really cool about this colorway is in the areas, I think there's actually some better photos further along. This is me putting it on the loom. I had to do the dummy warp thing so that I could maximize my warp. So it was all dummy warped all together. This was me getting it all ready. and then spreading, and that down there at the bottom where the back beam is, those are the dummy warps. And then they're connected to the back of the warp chain itself. And then I spread it in my rattle. And if you look, you can see here, you see how it just magically worked out. Like this, everything about this thus far, touch wood, touch wood, touch wood and blue, everything has just kind of worked out. But what's really neat is this creamy kind of, you know, very soft eggshell blue, kind of white ivory, where it's matching up on each side of the stole, that's ended up being this really quiet place in the woven fabric, because it's very low contrast with the price of eggs. And then on the edges, the middle and the other edge is where you get the higher contrast of the actual twill and being able to see it. So I'm hoping that once the fabric is off the loom and you can actually, and it's washed and finished, I'm hoping that that will give the eye places to rest along the entire length of the warp. And then I had it threaded very, very quickly. Each of these bundles is one threading repeat. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 1, 4, 3, 2, 4, 3, 4. Anyways, it's 1 11 thread, 22 thread repeat of the advancing twill. So each of them is one, and I needed 11 all the way across. So I knew if I had 11 bundles plus a floating selvage on either side, that my threading was accurate. And that's it again. I love how they like kind of twist on each other as you're threading, and you're through the warping process, you're kind of adding a little twist, and then, you know, it doesn't affect the finished fabric, but it's just kind of neat to see. So this is it once again, and I'm just really happy with how this is going so far. I think one of the things is you can see right here actually where the eye rests, and then there's areas of the price of eggs where you get that really beautiful kind of seafoam egg, robin's egg blue, and then this becomes an area of rest right down here, right straight below me right here, and you can see it on the other side as well. It's just not quite as high contrast, kind of gives you your eye somewhere to rest. So just really, really happy with how this is coming together. So yeah, thank you for letting me wax poetic about it. I'm hoping next show it'll be done and I can show it to you. It'll be difficult to finish it while I'm here because I don't have access to my dryer. I don't trust my mom's dryer at all. So I might have to finish it once I'm home, but at least I can show you guys. And then once it's completely washed and finished once we're home, then I'll show you the finished object. All these things that I'm starting to have to put on hold because I don't have access to certain things is, it's okay. I just hope I've kind of started making a list now of things that I need to work on, like, so I don't lose the plot on a few things for when we get home. You know, the bitmap towels need to be hemmed, the floral napkins need to be washed and finished, this will have to be washed and finished. I need to do something about my LB pullover. I've got to get that finished. My log cabin blanket's still not done. Like all these things I just need to like pull out and just have a finishing partying done. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Eve. Thanks, Kath. You guys are so kind. Thanks, Jen. All right, let's finish off with some community participation because we have completely missed it the last number of weeks because of the show being interrupted and life and all that kind of stuff. So I'd really, really like to do it today. So let me get it all queued up. It might just actually take me just a sec because nothing is up properly. Let me go here and then here. Sorry for the echo there. I'm sure there was a little bit of a hollow sound there for a few minutes on the slides. Sorry about that. I forgot to mute one of the cameras. I know it's just kind of sort of a bit annoying sometimes. Rebecca said, I don't love having a list of things hanging over me like that. I feel you. Yes, it gets a bit tedious, doesn't it? You sort of got this list of things that aren't quite done that you know won't take a ton of time, but they take enough time that it doesn't feel super easy to get them done. And that's certainly where I am right now. All right, this is the 52 weeks of using what I have. This has been spearheaded by Florence. She's been sharing in the Ravelry group what she's been working on. There is a ton there. I encourage you to go and have a look. It's been really cool watching what she's doing. But other people have started to jump in as well. So this is from Kat. She's using her oldest, I'm not sure what SQ stands for. I'm assuming it's something stash. Oldest stash for a gardening vest. I don't really dig this color palette anymore. It is pretty though, Kat. And this combo spin has been waiting for its day since 2017. So I'm glad it's finally getting used. And this is the Pelica vest. And actually, I feel like this was the pattern. I would have to look later. I feel like this is, Renata just made this vest as well. And it's a very traditional garter stitch, V-neck. It doesn't have buttons. It's sort of an open, it's on my queue actually to make. And Renata was saying it's a very traditional type of vest from like Germany, Austria, that area of the world. And she made hers for her husband, and I had already queued the pattern, but now I want it, but then learning that I wanted to make it, not that I'm German, but I wanted to make it, it looks so classic and it's so lovely. And it's just all this garter stitch with this I-cord edge around the entire thing. It is so nice. So highly recommend checking that pattern out. Oh, sweater quantity. Thank you, Christine. Of course. Duh. Thank you. Sometimes. And then this is from Florence. This year was not supposed to be about socks, but my just 4-year-old grandson ran away to get his socks to show me they are too small. Definitely need some new ones, Grandma. So these ones are winging their way to Perth. My first ever top-down socks. I enjoyed the pattern. And I think the garter stitch front creating a shorter inside curve to the ankle will suit a little foot. I'm curious to know how that goes. Maybe you can report back. And then I thought this was such a lovely photo. So Florence knit this and was going to keep it for herself, and she wore it a couple of times, but she wasn't really quite happy with it, and she didn't think that she would probably continue to wear it. So she passed it on to her niece, Wendy, who is a knitter and knows how to wash non-superwash woolies. So this is actually a better outcome because this jersey would not survive an accidental trip into the washing machine. And just look at the smile and how beautifully the color suits Zoe. It just fills me with joy. Amazing. So it's the daughter of one of her other nieces. So the niece is Wendy, who's a knitter, and it's her daughter Zoe that got the sweater. And I just think it looks amazing. So well done. Yeah, such a great, when they're so happy like that, like how can you not think that that's the right thing to do? And then General Makes and Shares, you guys have been so prolific the last number of weeks, and it's been so long since we've done a community participation. This doesn't even begin to do justice with what you guys have shared, both on the Slack channel and the Ravelry group. So my apologies. This is Becca. She's been working on her spinning certificate for the last couple of years, and she's on the final push. And this is a wool Ramie silk blend that she's been working on. And this will eventually be a sweater. And she's thinking about maybe, she doesn't have to do the knitting for her certificate. She can actually ask someone else to do it for her because that's not what she's being evaluated on. So she's thinking about doing that just to save her shoulder because of a recent injury. This is from Christina. I loved this orange so much. Couldn't resist sharing the last of this beautiful English Lister fleece, washed, combed, and spun and dyed, and now it's out to dry. Sorry, I need to move. The luster is amazing. It's thickly spun, as using it along with 2 other skeins for a woven part of a kitty basket for my daughter's cats. Amazing. I want to see the basket before it gets used by the cats, Christina. Make sure that you share. This is from Megan. All winter I wanted to snuggle on the couch under my wool blanket and knit, and I only spun a little bit. But this spring, the spinning bug caught me. Here's another 4 ounces of commercial fin. That's the white fiber here. The gray is a mysterious spindle cops that she found in a drawer. I love that when that happens. And then the gray is her Murret Shetland from Locks, from Clemis. Is it Cleems and Cleems or Clemis and Clemis? I'm not sure. Cleems and Cleems, I think. I don't think that's a typo. This was the most fantastic fiber I've ever prepped. I opened the locks with my fingers, ran them through the drum carder, and got amazingly perfect fluffy bats. Amazing. Beautiful spinning, Megan, as always. This is from Colleen. Look at that color. Isn't that fun? I enjoyed spinning all the yellows to teals in this combo Falkland braid. And I think she saved all of the other colors for another spin. So she broke them all up. It's from Eveline, some textured yarn. She was doing some boucle and a skein of 2-ply with the leftovers. It's from one braid of Romney and some white mohair. Look at that boucle. Isn't that perfect? So pretty. Really well done, Eveline. And then sweater spinning. You guys have been doing a bunch of sweater knitting and sweater spinning. It's been incredible. This is from Dion. It's official. We are not just spinners. I've decided that we should go by our official name, Yarn Architects. Absolutely, 100%. We build yarn from the ground up, and we all have our unique styles. Taking close-up pics of this Jacob, I blended sari silk and spun low twist. And the low twist cemented it for me. Also look at the sheen in the second pick. Isn't that incredible? It's that sheen. When I spun this yarn, I was happy with the result, but upon knitting it and seeing the colors, it just makes me absolutely love it. Yes, she can't show the knit because it's a test knit, but isn't that incredible? I just love this so much, Dion. Everything about this. Okay, Dion just put in the chat that we should, when I'm back in my house and I'm all settled, we should, on Fridays, we need to do some Finish It Friday Zooms. I would love that, especially once we're back in, like James is going to be working this summer and Nora's got a couple of things that she's doing, and that would just be absolutely perfect. I would love that. Yes. This is from Megan. I finished my, is it sari? Hand spun 2-ply fingering weight, held double to get DK weight for this sweater. The main color, the main rust color is hand dyed fiber. So that's all this here, which is from, I think it's woolen twine, 75% BFL, 25% linen. And then the tan is from hip strings, and it was a Shetland Manx linen blend. Beautiful, Megan. I love this so much. Wonderful shoulder season piece. I really like this pattern. I love the buttons. Those just came out beautifully. This is from Ganilla. Finally finished spinning the natural colored brown BFL fiber. This is just incredible spinning, Ganilla. Well done. The grist is about 190 to 200 meters per 100 grams, about a DK, 765 grams total of 3-ply. Amazing. The yarn shrunk in length and became thicker after washing, so I will measure the length again after winding the yarn balls. Beautiful. Really, really well done, Ganilla. Love this so much. And then there's a little bit of spindle spinning. We're getting into that season here in the Northern Hemisphere where people are pulling their spindles out. So we are almost back into spindle spun season, almost. I was gonna ask you guys if you wanted to do that again this year. We've been going with that for quite a number of years. I wasn't sure if we wanted to keep going. This is from Sam. I can't wait to see this plied. It is so pretty. Gorgeous photo too, Sam, really pretty. This is from Christine. I love this so much. I was pushing my luck getting 45 grams of fiber onto this one spindle, but I wanted to chain ply it. Yes, gorgeous. I can't wait to see this finished, Christine. And thank you, you guys, for everything that you do, for sharing what you share, and for being here and being a part of the community. As you know, I could not do this without you. I know that I say that, but it really is true. There's no way that I could do this without you guys and without your support. And I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you. As you know, it's been kind of a tricky 6 weeks or so. So if you've been trying to get a hold of me, or you've been trying to find out about something or anything like that, and I haven't responded, it's probably just because of what's been going on in life, and I'm very, very sorry. I hope that you guys have a wonderful couple of weeks. We are back here same time, same place next week with the Wool Circle with Rebecca. And yeah, I hope you guys just have a really fun couple of weeks making. Christine says, funnily enough, that fiber was sent to me by Diana Twist as a prize for the first spindle spun season. That is so cool. Yes, Sam's got hers finishing up its drying, her spindle spun soon. Wonderful. And Rebecca said her sister got her a new suspended spindle that she needs to break on, along with some Turkish spindles. So she definitely wants to do spindle spun season. Awesome. Cool. All right. I'm sorry it was so long today. To those who are watching later and having to catch up on such a long show, I'm sorry. Been trying to keep them a little bit shorter. I know they get to be really long to catch up on later. I hope you guys have a really great couple of weeks. Thank you for tuning in. I'm going to go get some lunch, and I know some of you will be going to get some dinner and going to bed because it's late where you are in other parts of the world. So have a really great rest of your day. Have a great week, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, everyone.